I'm Laurence Buckman. I'm a GP in North London, and I have been for over 30 years, and I'm the chairman of the BMA GPs Committee, and I'm elected to represent 46,000 GPs to the UK government. I think that self-insight and recognition of one's limitations is something to do with, it's not just humility, it's actually recognition of reality. And people that don't recognise that and are supremely self-confident actually are dangerous or complacent. They may be drunk with power, they may not recognise their limitations. And there's great dangers, both as a doctor and as somebody who represents others, in not recognising your limitations and being able to say either I don't know, or, and I'm not going to kid you either, I don't know, or I don't know how to do this, or I can't do this, this is unachievable. It's people who pretend that they can deliver something when they absolutely can't, or who use force majeure, which is what politicians do, to deliver things when actually they couldn't deliver it any other way. They couldn't deliver it by rational argument, because there isn't a rational argument. We've invaded countries a long way away on the basis of irrational argument. Soldiers have died because of irrational argument. All sorts of decisions are taken by society, by which we mean politicians primarily, and their advisors who are not elected, that are irrational. So when we talk about self and not self, we are talking about the rational self and the irrational. And much of our irrationality that we see in political life is because of a need to be re-elected, a need to be in power. Well, I don't need that. And a lot of people who are workers as opposed to talkers actually don't need an irrational support to their continued existence. I don't need to be popular with anybody. There's 46,000 people elected me, well, some, a majority of them did, not all of them, obviously. If they thought I'd done a rubbish job, they'd get rid of me, because they could. I'm removable at 1 month's notice, so it would be quite easy to unseat me if somebody thought I was no good. And I don't need to curry favour. The only people I need to curry favour with are the 2,500 patients who are mine in North London, who, you know, they think I'm good enough to be their GP. Well, that's a great reality check. If half your punters leave you, that tells you something about your practice. People in public life very often don't have that challenge because they don't have a toehold back in the real world. Now, that's not true of all parliamentarians. Many of whom do have a job as well as being parliamentarian. I'm not sure whether that's sustainable, but they do it. And it's not true of many people in quite powerful positions because that's their job. But my overlapping job, and my predecessor and my successor, whoever they are, will be overlapping. That keeps you with a foot in reality, which you badly need if you're going to represent colleagues or speak to people who make decisions. Because I understand what those decisions will do to me in my practice. My job is to deliver people's needs, not to make them happy. I can't make people happy. Many people have unhappy lives or have great unhappinesses at some part of their existence. I can't solve that. I can't rewrite history. I can't give them different parents. I can't make them wealthy. I can't do lots of things that people think would make them happy. I can't take revenge on some wicked relative. I can't, you know, there's a great long list of things I can't do. So I can't make people happy. What I have to do is make them content with their lot now, if that's possible, which it may not be. And in the political sphere in which I work, I can't make 46,000 GPs happy. I can't do that. My job is to deliver as best I can what ambitions they have, and to lead my committee of 88 GPs, who the General Practitioners Committee of the UK, to lead them and get them to make the best of what they've been told to get. Sometimes you can't get whatever you want, and to explain to them too, we cannot make all GPs happy, and we cannot deliver always on something people want. You have to know who you are, how you got here, and to know where the traps are that you fell in, and where the future traps are that you haven't yet fallen into, and understand how you can avoid those. And some of those are by not absorbing other people's mess, by not believing that you are their white knight in shining armour or they're yours, and by being resilient enough within yourself that you don't delude yourself about what you are or what you could become. There's no point walking around in your head believing you're going to be the greatest astronaut that ever lived, if actually that's not a realistic ambition for you. So you'll be much happier if you don't think you're going to be an astronaut. Yes, every pregnant woman who comes to see me wants her child to be the managing director of a public company by the age of 30, having got a double first at Oxbridge. Well, it's not going to happen. Okay? So there is no point in me encouraging them to think that every child will be a genius and will be a multi-millionaire when they're 30. It won't happen. Perhaps our ambitions ought to be happy. Well, actually, I guarantee that of the babies I'm looking after at the moment, a good number of them will not be happy. And they will not be happy for a variety of different reasons. So if I step back from the happiness business and just concentrate on needs, I'll do my best to make sure they're healthy, to make sure that if they have special educational needs that they're met, that if they have special physical needs they're met, that I support their parents in bringing them up. That'll do. Getting them to be happy from an ambition that it might objectively be undeliverable is something I can't do. So the resilience thing is partly myself versus not self, but in transmitting that to patients, it's the same thing. Recognise what's yours in your control to do something about, and what is not in your control. Self is what I am and I can do for myself. Okay? So self is, I want breakfast at 8 o'clock in the morning. Set the alarm, get up, have breakfast. That's entirely in my own control. But there are other things that are completely outside my control. Will the roads be gritted when it snows? I would like it to be, but if they're not, I won't be able to go out there and grit them. So that is outside my control. So if I'm then unhappy because I can't get the car out of the drive because the road hasn't been gritted, I might rage and howl, but it's not in my control. Perhaps I've explained there, self, not self. The psychotherapy of self, not self is really very complicated, but I'm not going to go into that right now.